watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The activities of the 6th edition of the annual Al Bashair Arabian Camel Racing Festival are concluded. The death toll from the earthquake in Turkey and Syria exceeds 45,000. And Ukraine's Western backers urge allies to speed up military aid for Ukraine. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The activities of the 6th annual Al Bashair Festival for Arabian Camel Racing were concluded today at Al Bashair Camel Racetrack in the Wilaya of Adam in Al Dakhiliya Governorate. More details in the following report.
بثنا المباشر بكل الوسائل في بشاير ملتقى للمجلسين ويحضر من سن حجه لين حايل. Sensational performances of traditional Omani singing arts accompanied the exciting camel races on the closing day of the 6th Al Bashair Annual Festival for Arabian Camel Racing. The first round was devoted to a Thanaya Camel Corps category. After intense competition, the camel Ashahiniya, owned by the Royal Corps and led by the trainer Hamad bin Sultan Al Wafaili, snatched the first place and won this round. The second round was allocated to a Thanaya Camel General category, and after strong competition, the camel Ayquna, owned by Nasser bin Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Misnad from the state of Qatar, came first and won this round.
From the beginning of the festival, it was the participants from the GCC countries increased from the beginning, which was not there from the previous festivals. Also, in terms of the events, we are having a different and new event as the young people is handling the events. So new and different events are included this year. In terms of the prices, this year, as you can see, in the prices are more valuable and more variety than the previous festival.
The third round was allocated to Al Hul Camel General category. The camel Shuwahin, owned by Musa bin Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah Al Musa from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, grabbed the lead and came first to win the silver sword of this round. The grand finale of the festival was allocated for Al Hul Camel Corps category. Competition intensified between the participating camels, but the camel Al Asima, owned by Al Bashair Corps and led by the trainer Musa bin Ali bin Muhammad Al Jahafi, came first and won the golden sword of the festival. At the end of the festival, the trophies were distributed to the winners. Al Bashair Festival for Arabian Camel Racing has become an annual destination and a platform for reviving camel racing as an authentic cultural heritage. From Al Bashair Camel Racetrack in the Wilaya of Adam, Salih Abu Khalfan Al-Rahbi, Al Dakhiliya Governorate.
The Sultanate of Oman achieved 4th place in the E-Government and Mobile Services Maturity Index for 2022, issued by the Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia of the United Nations. The indicator measures the maturity of government services provided through electronic portals and smart applications according to 3 pillars: namely service availability and development, service use and being satisfied with it, as well as the reaching of the audience. The index of the Sultanate of Oman achieved a growth of 7.8% compared to 2021. A person was rescued alive from the rubble of a building in the Turkish city of Hatay today, 296 hours after the earthquake. The rescued person was one of 3 people rescued in Hatay area. More than 45,000 people have been killed in the earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria, and the toll is expected to soar, with some 264,000 apartments in Turkey destroyed and many still missing in the country's worst modern disaster. Meanwhile, humanitarian aid donated by the European Union arrived in Damascus today to help people affected by the earthquake. Ukraine's Western backers today urged allies to give Ukraine what it needs to beat Russia, with NATO's chief warning of the risks of victory for Moscow. World leaders are meeting at the Munich Security Conference with conflict still raging almost a year after Moscow sent troops into Ukraine, upending the global security landscape. Dozens of senior figures are attending, including the leaders of Germany and France, U.S. Vice President, U.S. Secretary of State, and China's top diplomat Wang Yi. Allies led by the United States have sent billions of dollars of armaments to Kyiv, from artillery to air defense systems, but the government said it needs more to launch a successful counter-offensive. On the second day of the Munich gathering, the NATO Secretary General led calls to step up military support for Kyiv, saying it is the only way to counter Moscow. The European Union chief also called for bolstered military support in areas such as ammunition supplies.
Dafür wünschen wir dir hier aus München weiter viel Kraft und Zuversicht. Let me extend a very special, very warm
protocols. So the NATO decisions have been made. What now remains is the ratification.
Russia said its forces struck multiple Ukrainian facilities, while Ukraine claimed it repelled Russian attacks near 16 settlements over the past day. On Thursday, Russia's armed forces carried out a concentrated missile strike with long-range air and sea-based high-precision weapons against enterprises that provided the Ukrainian military with fuel and ammunition. In areas such as Kupiansk, Krasny Liman, and Donetsk and Zaporizhia, the Russian army damaged manpower and military equipment, including armored vehicles of the armed forces of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Air Force struck areas where Russian servicemen and military equipment were concentrated, as well as Russian air defense systems. On the other hand, Russia today claimed to have taken control of a small village near the key city of Kupiansk in the northeastern Ukrainian region of Kharkiv. In September, Russian troops retreated from key cities in the northeastern region of Kharkiv, including the key rail hub of Kupiansk. The Ukrainian army said earlier today that Russian troops were conducting offensive actions in several cities, including Kupiansk and Bakhmut, the eastern city that is the scene of the longest battle of the war so far.
Transfer it from those cars into those silos into cars.
North Korea fired today a long-range missile from its capital into the Sea of Japan, according to its neighbors, a day after it's threatened to take strong measures against South Korea and the U.S. over their joint military exercises. Japanese government spokesperson Hirokazu Matsuno said no damage was reported from the missile, which landed within Japan's exclusive economic zone, about 200 kilometers west of Oshima Island. North Korea's foreign ministry yesterday threatened with unprecedentedly strong actions against its rivals after South Korea announced a series of planned military exercises with the United States to sharpen their response to the North's growing threats. The launch was North Korea's first since January 1st, when its test fired a short-range weapon. It followed the massive military parade in Pyongyang last week. The unprecedented number of missiles underscored a continuation of expansion of his country's military capabilities despite limited resources, while negotiations with Washington remain stalemated. Still to come in our news bulletin. 300 artifacts in the Marie Festival in the Governorate of North Batna tell stories of Omani sailors and traders and the tools that aided them in their travels. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The National Committee on Combating Money Laundering and Financing of Terrorism organized a seminar on the roles of the concerned authorities in combating these types of crimes. The seminar was held at Royal Oman Police Headquarters in the Governorate of Musandam under the auspices of His Excellency Sayyid Ibrahim bin Saeed al-Busaidi, Governor of Musandam. The seminar aided at raising awareness on the roles of the concerning authorities, including the Central Bank of Oman, the Royal Oman Police, the National Committee on Combating Money Laundering and Financing of Terrorism, and the National Center for Financial Information. The seminar also sought to exchange expertise between stakeholders and raise interagency coordination in tackling these offenses. The Sea Artifacts Museum in the Maritime Festival in the Governorate of North Batna offers around 300 artifacts that tell a story of Omani sailors and their connection to their sea travels in the past. Some of the artifacts displayed in the museum are over 400 years old, revealing information on the tools used by Omani sailors, fishermen, and traders during their voyages. Magnificent artifacts include compass that tells direction through fire, antique maps, and manuscripts written by sailors that narrate their stories and travels. The Directorate General of Culture, Sports and Youth in South Al-Sharqiya Governorate organized the annual traditional boat race in the Wilaya of Sur. The race was sponsored by Oman Liquefied Natural Gas Company Development Foundation. More details in the following report.
These are the grandsons of Wilaya of Sur skippers, rowing their traditional boats and racing each other to reach the finish line. In this traditional boat race, which is part of the Omani Maritime Heritage Festival in South Al-Sharqiya Governorate. This traditional boat race is an annual event organized by Oman Liquefied Gas Company as part of its various support initiatives.
Oman LG have started working together with the community, trying to, as much as possible, to be resilient in accepting the community's expectations in dealing with them. One of the main objectives that we are here today is to celebrate the rowing boat race. It's one of the main events for the community, for the local community in Sur. Now it's becoming also a national event to the national level of Oman. The most important thing in our celebration and in our events that everybody goes back to shores safe and sound.
7 boats competing in a 6-kilometer race and retrieving their past on how was their ancestors struggling to live a good life in a city that is known for its deep maritime heritage. Al-Uruba Club boat is still keeping its top position after winning this year's race. Then Oman Liquefied Natural Gas Company boat got the 2nd place, and Sur Health City Project boat got the 3rd place. Sultan bin Saif Sara'i from Wilaya of Sur, South Al-Sharqiya Governorate.
This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The activities of the 6th edition of the annual Al-Bashair Arabian Camel Racing Festival are concluded. The death toll from the earthquake in Turkey and Syria exceeds 45,000. And Ukraine's Western backers urge allies to speed up military aid for Ukraine. With that, we come to the end of tonight's bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom, it's good night and enjoy your weekend.